Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Sydney from PhoneDog.com and welcome to PhoneDog Live, our weekly vodcast that we have here every Friday on our Ustream channel. This is where we cover the latest mobile news, rumors, and then I share my opinions, and everyone on Ustream in the comments, you guys can share your opinions. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can share your opinions in the comment section. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure and check out the description below the video because I put the timeline of all the topics in there, and so you don't have to watch the whole video. You can just look at the topic you want to listen to or watch, and then you can skip to that section. So I'm glad everybody could be here. We have a moderator set in Ustream now. One of our typical or regular moderators is not available, so hopefully, Sim, if you need some help, just let me know, or you can set a moderator if you know someone else here. I just didn't happen to recognize any of the names. But anyway, I'm glad everyone could be here. I'm actually not feeling 100% today, so please forgive me if this isn't the best vodcast you've ever seen. It probably won't be the best vodcast you've ever seen. I've been kind of just sort of sick the whole day and sick to my stomach. So, but we have some interesting topics today. BlackBerry, obviously, being top of the news, and for a good reason, for a change. For a long time, it was just bad BlackBerry, and everyone was either, talking bad about them, or they were trying to defend themselves, or, letters coming out from workers saying how terrible they were. So, but today we actually have good BlackBerry news. They released the new Bold, the new Torch, and then they actually released two torches, but the other torch is sort of like the Storm 3, but they just decided to get rid of the Storm name because it brought back such terrible memories. So they released two torches and the BlackBerry Bold. So we're going to obviously talk about that. That's big news. And then Aaron this week posted his Motorola Photon review, so if you hadn't got a chance to watch that yet, you can check it out on PhoneDog.com, and we'll also be talking about the Photon. And then we also got some new pictures and specs released of the Droid Bionic, and still no, solid release dates yet, but we got plenty of info. And then there's one more topic I want to talk about, the Samsung Conquer 4G. This is an interesting phone. It's not, an amazing phone by any means. It's kind of a, mid to high-end phone, kind of a normal phone, but it's a 4G device, which is interesting because, usually that's saved for the high-end dual-core processing phones. So kind of interesting. I want to talk about that, and then we have a couple of extras. We'll see if we can get to them. But we'll start off. If you're on Ustream, you can see the topic at the top. The first thing that we're going to talk about are these new BlackBerries, and if you're on Facebook, I will also be reading those comments just kind of off and on while I'm talking. But anyway, so getting started with the new BlackBerries. So first of all, we'll start with, and by the way, if anything happens during the stream with the sound or video or anything like that, just let me know and I'll be checking the comments. But we'll start off with the new BlackBerries, the BlackBerry Bold 9900, 9930, GSM, CDMA. This is, probably not the most exciting unless you're a BlackBerry diehard fan, but it's their new BlackBerry Bold, but it has a touchscreen. So let me show you guys a picture of it. No way, I didn't get a picture of it. You're joking. Well, like I told you, I am kind of sick, so I didn't get a picture of it. Anyway, so the Bold Touch, it has a 2.8-inch display, 640 by 480 is the resolution. But the interesting thing about the display is RIM says it uses this liquid graphics technology. And this, which also has a lot to do with how the phone uses the CPU and the GPU to process, information and graphics. But really, liquid graphics, what it does for the phone is it just makes the whole experience a lot smoother. And, that was one of the problems that a lot of people had with BlackBerries, was that, sometimes it could be kind of laggy, especially in web browsing, the checkerboarding when you're scrolling through it. It wasn't a very smooth operating system, very functional, and, had tons of features, but just in everyday use, it wasn't very smooth. And so this new liquid graphics technology is supposed to improve that. And we at PhoneDog, we didn't have any hands-on with it at the release party or release event. But if you check out crackberry.com, they had tons of videos, obviously. I mean, the minute the news broke, and of course they were there, they had, 6 different videos and articles and write-ups and all kind of stuff, and they're really excited about it. So anyway, they have some hands-on videos, and it really is a lot smoother. And they talked about the web browsing. That was another big thing. BlackBerry web browser was terrible, and so now it's been improved. So along with that, also to boost performance, the new BlackBerry Bold has a 1.2 gigahertz single-core processor, but still a decent processor, a Qualcomm processor. 8 gigs of internal memory, so that's going to help. A 5-megapixel camera with a flash that also captures HD video. Now, obviously, multimedia has never really been, the focal point of BlackBerry devices. Not just in terms of performance, but more like intentionally. The features and the camera performance, that wasn't always the focal point. And it's, still kind of the case here. They're trying to improve in those areas, but still the case here. But it does have the 5-megapixel camera. All of the new BlackBerries will be shipping with the new version of BlackBerry, of BlackBerry OS 7. And if you remember, there was kind of that debate whenever they first announced OS 7, because OS 6 was like the new, completely, redesigned, beautiful OS. It was a major upgrade. And, OS 7 adds, new features, but kind of like minor features and a couple of big upgrades. But, a lot of people thought it was just going to be called, 6.1 or 6.5 because they didn't really think it deserved an actual 1.x update. But they decided to rename it to BlackBerry 7. So, and supposedly these will have NFC support. Now, I don't know if that's actually been confirmed that every model will have NFC support, but that's what I've read here and there. And then the BlackBerry Bold this new BlackBerry Bold is the thinnest BlackBerry yet. And if you haven't seen pictures, I wish I had one, but if you haven't seen them, definitely check them out because it still looks like a BlackBerry, so, not a whole lot of changes, but they added to the design an aluminum trim around the edge. Just kind of gives it that high-end feel. The keyboard rim says is actually 5% wider, which isn't, a whole lot, but it's, 5% wider. And then the display is just much improved, not just in terms of, visually the way it looks, but, again, going back to the performance of it, just a whole lot more smooth. And so the BlackBerry Bold, I call it the Bold Touch just to help myself differentiate, but that's not the official name, it's just the Bold. 9900, 9930. Now, we know it's coming to AT&T. AT&T has said that all of these are going to be 4G devices, but that's AT&T only. Verizon, I believe, also, we've gotten, pretty much confirmation that Verizon will be having these new phones. Sprint will also be getting them in the fall. At least this is according to reports. And then T-Mobile, the rumor is that these new BlackBerries will be coming to, or the BlackBerry Bold will be coming to T-Mobile, and it will also be a 4G device. So I'm not sure if that has actually been confirmed yet, but I am pretty sure that we know for certain AT&T, Verizon, and Sprint. I see a question on Ustream, or at least somebody's mentioning Virgin Mobile. I don't know if you guys are asking if these phones are going to be on Virgin Mobile. If so, that we haven't had confirmation on yet. And honestly, I doubt it. Virgin Mobile has the Curve 3G. And BlackBerry will be releasing an updated version of the Curve that will also have a touchscreen. But I would be surprised if Virgin got that new Curve when it was released. Now, maybe, 6 months down the road, or I don't know, a year. Maybe down the road some ways they'll get it. But the Bolds and probably won't get those. But maybe the Curve, since that's usually the, the budget model. Now, so that's the Bold Touch. Now, I mentioned earlier that there's two torches that were announced, and there was the Torch 9810, which is basically the the successor to the Torch that we have now, where it's the touchscreen and a physical keyboard that slides out. I have a picture of this new Torch 2. So here you can see it. Not a whole lot of changes in terms of the hardware design. You still have that display. It's a 3.2-inch display. Has a resolution of 640 by 480. And then you still have the same great keyboard, so you can see that here. But in terms of the hardware, not a whole lot of changes. However, under the hood, in the guts of the phone, some major improvements, basically doubling everything. The processor is now a 1.2 gigahertz processor. Still has a 5-megapixel camera that captures 720p HD video, and then the RAM, 768 megabits of RAM. So major improvements for the Torch. Honestly, I think this is what the Torch should have been whenever the original Torch came out. But at least they were upgrading it, and so that one I think for the average everyday person, I see the Torch being a little more appealing to those kind of people. Taylor, I'm glad you're here. I only had one moderator set, and I wasn't sure who else to set as a moderator, so thank you, Taylor, for also being a moderator. Yeah, I see, at least me personally, to me, I think the Torch appeals to me more because you have a larger touchscreen. The Bold and the Curve will have a touchscreen, but it's a small display, 2.8-inch display. I don't know that many people actually use the touchscreen. If so, they won't use it for very much, to do very much. You still have the optical trackpad, whereas with the Torch, I think you have the large touchscreen, which people love touchscreen devices, but you still have that, iconic BlackBerry keyboard that's just excellent. So, the form factor of the Torch, I think, appeals to a wider audience, and now that it has those high-end specs, now it honestly can compete with, the high-end Android devices. That one, I think, at least, just looking at it on paper, I would think that would be a hit. And then, again, going back to performance, the web browsing is supposed to be just so much better on these new devices. Overall performance of, everything, scrolling, opening apps, menus, sliding through menus, is supposed to be so much better and more smooth. But anyway, so that's the Torch 2. Now, the other Torch that was announced, this is actually what I would call the Storm 3, but they just got rid of the Storm name. So you can see a picture here of the Torch. This is being called the Torch 9850. So here it is. And you can see it's like the Storm, it's a full touchscreen device. But it's not, the Storm name is completely gone. It's the Torch 9850. This has a 3.7-inch display, 800 by 480, so decent resolution. And then it also has a 1.2 gigahertz processor. Here's another picture of the Storm. You can see the back of it there. That camera is a 5-megapixel camera with an LED flash, you can see, and it also captures HD video. Now, the interesting thing about this phone is that this is, again, like I've said, it's like the Storm 3, and that phone was never like a great phone. The first one just bombed. It was terrible. BlackBerry and their attempt at a full touchscreen device with a virtual keyboard that was supposed to, still act like a physical keyboard, that just didn't work at all. The second one was better, but better compared to the first one is not really saying much. Still, filled with bugs and not just not the best touchscreen experience. So, it'll be interesting to see how this one does. I think it's interesting that RIM got rid of the Storm name. I think it was smart. I wasn't expecting it, but I think it was smart. But it'll be interesting to see if they've improved it. Now obviously having that faster processor is going to help a lot. Again, the liquid graphics, web browsing will be better. But, they got stuck on this virtual keyboard thing where, that was the SurePress technology, where it's a virtual keyboard, but you're still supposed to get the tactile feedback of having a physical keyboard, and that was kind of their undoing. So we'll have to see how much of that they just let go, and just let the user have a virtual keyboard and just let them, we know how to use them by now. It's okay. You don't have to babysit us through the process of using a touch-only keyboard. So hopefully RIM improved on that. The Storm 3 is the one that I'm watching, the most kind of like tentatively. I wonder, how they're going to do on this. The Torch 2, as a consumer, that's the one I'm most looking forward to. I mean, I'm probably not going to get it, but I think it appealed to a wider audience. And then the Bold Touch, I don't know. I mean, such a small display with a touchscreen, but obviously that's not the main, the biggest improvement is just the fact that the processor is just, a large improvement over the previous ones. Now, RIM did not announce the Curve Touch, which was, the code name is Apollo. We're not really sure why. Maybe they just didn't want to overload us, or maybe they wanted to spread things out just for the sake of, having good news again, a month or two down the road. What we know of the Curve Touch, or the Apollo, is that it will have an 800 megahertz processor, a 5 megapixel camera. It will be thinner. Obviously have a touchscreen display with a resolution of 480 by 360. So, it's still kind of a mid-range device, but again, it's usually the low end, or the more budget-friendly model out of all the BlackBerries. So those are the new BlackBerries. I'm excited, and it was interesting whenever the news first broke and I was reading about all the new devices and watching videos, it almost made me forget about all those problems that RIM was having, with people saying that, the CEO, the co-chairman, they're making terrible decisions, and they don't treat their employees right, or, all these bad things, and they're losing so much money, and they're going down, and I almost forgot about all of that. And I think, and you guys in the comment section, feel free to voice your opinions, but for me, it just seemed like it was a lot of frustration building up. We hadn't seen anything new from RIM. It was like they were just sitting idly, just letting the market pass them by, and, we don't need a touchscreen device. And just, I think it was just a lot of built-up frustration, and now to kind of see, finally some new devices, and 1.2 gigahertz processor, and they have a touchscreen, and, we're finally working on that terrible web browser to make the experience better. I think it was just, finally, you've got something on the market, now we can move on, and hopefully consumers will pick this up. I think, I know BlackBerry has lost a lot of customers, and they've lost a lot of money, and market share, and mind share, and just about everything has gone down. But really, I think people still respect RIM. I mean, the average consumer, we know what they've done wrong, but the average consumer, I think, still sees a BlackBerry as an excellent business device with an excellent QWERTY keyboard, and yeah, they want it to be better, but they just assume that it will get better because, everyone else does. So, I think if these phones, if they do all right, if RIM markets them well, and, the carriers do well, I think they'll be okay. But then again, it might be too little too late. We'll have to see. I do think it was a bad idea for RIM to wait so long to release devices of this caliber. They are excellent devices, and I'm not going to, take anything away from that. But I think it might, they might have waited a little bit too long. But anyway, those are the new BlackBerries. We don't have any solid release dates yet. I've heard fall. I've heard this month. I believe AT&T is getting the Torch 9850 this month, and also the Torch 9810. I believe AT&T is getting those two phones this month, and then we've heard September, fall for Sprint. So, but we don't have any solid release dates yet, and we also don't have any prices. Now, I think a Canadian carrier. What was the name of that carrier? I think their price was like $249 on a contract, so kind of pricey. Hopefully they bring it down when they bring it to the U.S. But anyway, moving on to the next topic. Too much RIM news. I see that in the Ustream comments. We'll move on to Android news now. The Motorola Photon. That's not what I wanted to type. There we go. The Motorola Photon. Now, Aaron posted his video review of the Motorola Photon. This is a Sprint phone. And, the interesting thing about the Photon is that it's basically, like, if you think the Evo is an awesome phone, but you don't like that 3D gimmick, if you see it as a gimmick, the Photon is probably an excellent choice for you. Because it has the same great specs, a 1 GHz dual-core Tegra 2 processor. It is a 4G phone, has a large display, it's a 4.3-inch display with QHD resolution. Now, it was interesting, speaking of that resolution, there was an article posted. Taylor, was that you that posted that article, or was that Evan? An article recently on displays, on pin tile displays, and it brought on an interesting point that Motorola's QHD displays, they're actually not as stunning as they should be, just because of the type of technology that they use. Taylor, was that you? I don't know. Anyway, so just the kind of interesting article, if you see that on PhoneDog, it relates to the Motorola Photon, because the Photon has a QHD display, but when you compare it to other displays like the Super AMOLED display or Retina display on the iPhone, it's sometimes doesn't always stack up. So if you're into that kind of thing of having the best display on the market, Taylor, that was you, okay, of having the best display on the market, maybe these QHD displays aren't the best option, but it does nonetheless have a QHD display, dual-core processor, an 8-megapixel camera that can capture 720p HD video. It also has a front-facing camera, 1 gig of RAM, which is great, Android 2.3 with Motorola's applications platform, and it is a global phone. I have a picture for you guys, just in case you haven't seen it. Here is the Motorola Photon. So you can see it, Motorola typically has these somewhat industrial hardware designs, which is one of the reasons why I don't like Motorola devices, because I don't like their hardware designs. You can see it, sleek and has a soft touch coating on the back, and it's a pretty thin device, but still kind of has that industrial feel to me. The same thing with the Droid, with all of the Droids, the Droid 1, 2, 3, the Droid X. They have that kind of like industrial design. I've never really liked that. One of the reasons why I'm not too into Motorola, and then also I'm not a huge fan of the applications platform. Now, it's funny because I was just talking to Aaron today about other things, but the Photon came up, and he was saying, I know that you've been a huge proponent, or anti-blur, and I think a lot of people just hated blur, and through the year, every few months, Motorola has slowly kind of refined blur and kind of toned it down a little bit, and so Aaron was saying, after testing out the Photon, that if you don't like blur or Motorola's applications platform, try the new one and you'll probably like it, because it's a lot more toned down, very refined, just prettier. And not only that, but if you watch in his review, they've done a lot better, and it could be part of having a dual-core processor, but the performance is a lot more smooth. A lot of times with like the Atrix, blur is such a heavy UI that it kind of slowed down the device. But Aaron was commenting that the new version of the applications platform is a lot prettier, and it doesn't bog down the phone so much, and so performance was very smooth. And I believe on PhoneDog.com we have a list of the top smartphones for each carrier, and right now the Photon is #1. For a while the Evo 3D was #1, but the Photon has taken over, and so if you're on Sprint and you're trying to decide which is the very best phone, according to PhoneDog, it's now the Motorola Photon. Now, I don't think that the Evo 3D is, I mean, being number 2 is definitely not a bad spot to be in. The Evo 3D still has terrific specs, but, you know, if you don't like Motorola's applications platform, you can use Sense UI on the Evo 3D. If you like Sense, you can use the Photon with Motorola's UI. You know, dual-core processor, beautiful displays on both of them, Android 2.3. You know, not a whole lot of difference there, but that UI, I think, does make a lot of difference. And then it is a world phone. It's a global phone, so for some people that's a huge advantage, you know, if you travel a lot. You know, speaking of Blur and Motorola's UI, I got the Motorola Titanium recently. I did an unboxing video, and I should hopefully have my first impressions article up today. But it also ships with Blur. Now, it's not the new version of Blur that ships with the Photon, but it's kind of like the version that's in between the original version that sucked really bad and this new version. So it is kind of more toned down, and I've been using it. It has, you know, the blue gradient throughout the UI, and you know, it's kind of easier to get used to. Blur originally was so heavy, it kind of just rubbed you the wrong way. It was just in your face, but you know, this I can kind of see where Aaron is coming from. You know, and you can watch the review and you know, see more of his thoughts. But you know, I can kind of see where he's coming from. That Motorola has done a good job of kind of toning it down a little bit. So you can check out his review of the Motorola Photon and see, you know, get more in-depth thoughts on it. That's on PhoneDog.com. So it's on Sprint. It's available now. I don't have the price right here in my notes, but definitely check that out if you're into having the latest and greatest, or if, you know, you don't like 3D. You know, the Evo 3D is an awesome phone, but just the 3D thing was, to me, it was just too much of a gimmick and kind of a turnoff. But now you have another option, so you don't have to get the Evo 3D. So moving on to a little bit more Android news. Not a whole lot of this week. It's mostly Android and then RIM in the beginning. You know, there were some iPhone rumors, but I decided not to talk about them because I am so tired of iPhone 5 rumors. I think I've talked about iPhone 5 rumors every week for the past, you know, 2 months, and it's too much. So, but they weren't huge rumors, so it was nothing really to, you know, spend 10 minutes talking about. But anyway, moving on to, we got some more pictures of the Droid Bionic, and, you know, speaking of things that I'm tired of talking about, the Droid Bionic. Now, we haven't heard so much of this, so it's not as bad as iPhone 5 rumors. We got some more leaked pictures. There's about 4 of them, so I'll just go through. They don't really tell us very much, you know, about the phone in terms of specs. You know, we can kind of get more of the hardware design. You know, we see it has a large display. There you can see the size of it compared to the Droid Charge, which is also on Verizon. So you can see it's a pretty large device. Here's another picture of the back. You can see the camera there. One of the things that got me most excited about this picture is that there's no, you know, on the Droid X, there's that little hump on the back where the camera is. It's not like that on the Bionic. It's just flat on the back, which I really like. And then one more picture, you can see kind of a better look of the camera. There was another picture released just before I went live, and I didn't have time to get it, but it was a look at the battery, which again didn't tell us very much about the phone. But we did at least get to see some more pictures, and then along with that, we got a more updated list of the spec sheet, and this is something that has changed, you know, quite a bit with the Bionic. You know, obviously, just about everything with the Bionic has changed, but we got a more updated spec sheet. So here's what we have: the latest, you know, specs for the Droid Bionic 4G phone. It is going to have the updated version of Motorola Applications Platform, a 4.3-inch QHD display. Now, I think originally we thought this was going to have a 4.5-inch display, but we're hearing now it's a 4.3-inch display. It will have an 8 megapixel camera with a dual LED flash and will be capable of capturing 1080p video. Now, again, originally I think this was 720p HD video, so now it's 1080p HD video capture. We'll also have a front-facing camera, and it's confirmed now that it will be shipping with 2.3 and Motorola's UI. You know, obviously, whenever the Bionic was first announced, it was going to ship with 2.2, I think, because it was announced so long ago that 2.2 was what, you know, everything was shipping with. But now that they've waited a, you know, entire year, not an entire year, that's an exaggeration, but now that they've waited so long, it will be shipping with 2.3. So, you know, again, some more updates in the never-ending Bionic story. We're hearing that it will be released in September. That's the word that we have from Verizon or Motorola, and so hopefully one more month and then we'll be done with it. Again, we'll be coming to Verizon, and as far as a price, I don't think we have anything solid yet. I've heard that it could cost $149, but I'm going to say that I doubt it because it's a high-end smartphone and it's a 4G phone, and Verizon tends to price their 4G phones as, like, you know, their non-4G phones like $199 and then their 4G phones $249. So I doubt it's going to be $149 when it comes out. But anyway, we'll have a dual-core processor, and then I just listed the rest of the specs. So a little more news on the Droid Bionic. You know, if you're tired of it, I feel ya, and you know, we'll just move on. That way we don't have to dwell on it for too long. So next, this interesting topic that, you know, I mentioned in the intro of what I wanted to talk about. So Sprint announced the Samsung Conquer 4G, and this is, you know, a solid sort of, you know, depending on how you look at, you know, mid-range or high-end, it's kind of like, I would say it's a high-end device. Well, I'll just tell you the specs. It has a 1 gigahertz processor, so, you know, a great processor, but then at the same time it has a 3.5-inch display with a resolution of 480 by 320, you know, kind of a, you know, mid-range display, and then a 3.2 megapixel camera, you know, kind of low-end, but it also has a front-facing camera, and it'll be shipping with 2.3, so it's sort of like a high-end mid-range device. And it will have a physical QWERTY keyboard, so I can just show you guys a picture of it, of the Conquer, and you can see it is going to have Sprint ID, which is kind of a shame, but you know, it is what it is. And this is kind of an old picture because this is showing Android 2.2, but we're told it's going to be shipping with 2.3. But anyway, the interesting thing about this phone is that it's, you know, like I said, kind of a high-end mid-range device, 3 megapixel camera, 3.5-inch display, 1 gigahertz processor. It's going to be priced at $100. So $100, that's a mid-range device, but yet it's a 4G phone. So I'm thinking, are we getting to the point now where 4G is the norm? You know, because obviously, you know, when 4G first came out, it was only the special phones, like the high-end special phones got 4G, and then, you know, now Verizon is like, some of their high-end phones are 4G devices and some of them aren't. But, you know, now we're starting to see, okay, T-Mobile released the Dart, is that what it's called, the Samsung Dart, and the Exhibit. Those are like mid-range devices, but they're 4G phones. Now we have the Conquer, it's a 4G phone. So I'm thinking, is the 4G revolution complete now? Can we just have, you know, every phone, or like 90% of phones that come out, a 4G phone? Because eventually that's what it's going to be like. I mean, that's what it was like in the transition from 2G to 3G. It took a while, but eventually, you know, now, or, you know, previously, every phone was a 3G phone. And so, you know, it was going to take a while with 4G, you know, only certain devices would be 4G phone, then it would slowly kind of just, people would get used to the idea, you know, pricing plans would slowly, you know, carriers would accommodate their plans to fit the new technology. So, you know, it's interesting. I'm kind of wondering, like, oh, okay, so 4G is no longer just that, you know, extra speed burst that I can get with a dual core processing phone that costs like, you know, $250, but now I can just get it with any smartphone. You guys, you know, feel free to leave your opinions in the comment section. I wonder if you guys are even on topic. I look at this every week and you're rarely on topic. But anyway, so yeah, it was surprising. I was surprised to see Sprint make that a 4G device. But it would be nice if the 4G revolution was complete, because, you know, then we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to compare, like, oh, I really want this phone, but this one's a 4G phone. Now I can just, everything can be equal. But anyway, let's see. They need to expand 4G. Technology will always increase better and better as time goes on. 4G still needs working. Y'all know someone is making a 5G phone as we speak. We still need real 4G first. Okay, so that's a good point, real 4G. You know, different governmental organizations have deemed or, you know, qualified HSPA Plus and LTE as 4G, even though people will say technically LTE Advanced, LTE 2 is only true 4G, or WiMAX Advanced is only true 4G, whereas HSPA Plus and LTE is really just 3.5G technology. So that's a good point, but I think at this point, that's kind of a moot topic. I mean, I think people have just accepted LTE as 4G. I think back when 4G first came out, maybe that was something worth fighting against, but now it's just LTE is 4G. So, but I do agree, yeah, that possibly the 4G networks need to be built out a little bit more first. But I just thought that was interesting. So, let me see, what time is it? We will have some time for some extras. So, I have 2 extras that I wanted to discuss. Last week I didn't have time to get to our extras. I only had time to discuss 1 extra because well, there were so many topics to talk about, I just didn't have time. But this week we have 2 extras, and we will see if we can get to both of these. First of all, the HTC Puccini. It is a tablet by HTC, I know. So let me get you guys a picture of the tablet. That's not the one I wanted to show you. Well, anyway, we got today these pictures from the Puccini. This is, you know, screenshots, so you can kind of get an idea of what HTC is going to do to put their skin on it. So here you can see the app drawer. You know, it looks very similar to stock Honeycomb, so not a whole lot of change there, just some icon changes. But when we get to the keyboard, you can see HTC has put their own touch on it with their keyboard. But not only that, it's interesting, they also put the numerical pad there. Obviously, this will only be in landscape mode. I'm guessing when you're in portrait mode, you only see the QWERTY keyboard. But I thought it was interesting that they decided to put the T9 pad there. And then we have, this is from the settings menu, as you can see. Now, if you remember on stock Honeycomb, this is all dark. And so it looks like, you know, this might be another minor thing, minor skin feature that HTC will be adding. And then here's a picture of the device itself. So as you can see, HTC is pretty stuck on this capacitive stylus idea. Yeah, you can see at the top of this picture there, it does have a stylus pin. So, you know, I was thinking that was only like with the Flyer or the Evo View. You know, kind of like an idea, a nice idea, but kind of a novelty thing, and just kind of throwing it on there because they didn't have anything else to do. But it looks like they're going to be sticking with that capacitive stylus, because that picture has one in there as well. But, you know, again, the main point of that was to see kind of what HTC is going to do to skin Honeycomb, because I think people are more interested in it because Sense UI is so popular and so, you know, people love it. It's probably one of the most popular, or the most popular UI on the Android market. There's so many launchers that are made to emulate Sense UI if you don't have an HTC phone. I mean, beautiful widgets. One of the main reasons people download beautiful widgets is to make their phone look like a Sense device. And so, you know, I think people are really interested to see what HTC was going to do with Honeycomb. You know, how much they would customize it. As far as we can tell, they're not going to do a whole lot, which is, to me, kind of disappointing because, you know, I don't really like Honeycomb. I think, to me, it's it's not designed well enough to take advantage of the full display. You have 10 inches of real estate, you know, on most honeycomb devices, and yet you have these little bitty tiny icons. And you know, they're basically I know the icons, it kind of seems like a small thing, but if you look at an iPad and an iPhone, the icons are larger on the iPad. Reason being because you have a larger screen and you need to use that real estate, whereas on honeycomb, the icons are like the same size as on a small, you know, display on a phone. And you know, that's just one minor example of how, you know, honeycomb isn't really made to take advantage of that large display. And so I was thinking that HTC would kind of reinvigorate it with their Sense UI, but as far as we can tell, they haven't really done a whole lot, so kind of disappointing. Lastly, we do have time for our last extra, the HTC Vigor. Now, I don't know a whole lot about this device, but it's going to be a pretty cool phone, so I just wanted to tell you guys about it. Excuse me, I'm sorry, my throat. It will be coming to Verizon. It will have a 1.5 gigahertz Qualcomm processor. Now, the interesting thing about this is that, you know, most phones, when you talk about the processor, they either have like, you know, 1 or 1.2 gigahertz processor, and then after that, they kind of jump up to a dual-core processor. But this, you know, for some reason, HTC decided to not go with a dual-core processor, but bump it up to 1.5 gigahertz. Now, you're thinking, like, will that actually do anything? It will probably actually help with speeding it up. You know, maybe not exponentially, but I mean, it will help a little bit. And then an Adreno 220 GPU, and it will be shipping with 2.3. And then the display, the big thing is the display. It's going to have a resolution of 1280 by 720, which is extremely high. That's, you know, HD resolution. I mean, you can't imagine how large the display is going to be in order to make a resolution that high, you know, make sense. I mean, having the higher you go with the resolution, obviously the clearer the display is going to be. But whenever you have a display that's, you know, 4 inches, 4.3 inches, there's really only so high you can go before it just doesn't make sense. I mean, yeah, you could have that high of a resolution, but the screen is so small anyway that the pixel density is going to be so tight that, you know, to a certain extent, you're just kind of like throwing numbers in there just to make it sound good when it doesn't really do anything for that small display. So if you think of, you know, 1280 by 720, is that, I mean, 4.5 inch display or a 5-inch display? You know, I don't think we have any specs on the size of the display itself, but it'd be interesting to see with that resolution. So that's the HTC Vigor from Verizon, and that's all we know about it for now. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see whenever we get more information on that. We'll certainly have it on our homepage on PhoneDog.com. So be sure and keep it there. And that's all we have for this week. And so it is open Q&A time. Feel free to ask any question you have about any new phones that are coming out or have come out, or rumors. If you want to ask me about iPhone rumors, you can. I'll try to answer them. I'll also be on Facebook, so if you're on Facebook, you know, rest assured I'll be there. Okay, so on Ustream we have the Bionic does have a oh wait, it's just less noticeable. Oh, okay, the Bionic does have a camera. Oh, okay, the picture just made it look like it was flat. Huh. Let me go back to the picture. I guess, yeah, maybe like a minor camera hub, yeah. Well, as long as it's not that, like, that thick brick right where the camera was. As long as it's not that, it doesn't protrude that much, I guess it'd be okay. But, oh, okay, cool. Thanks for telling me, Taylor. Okay. So, question. Feature phones. That's not really a question. What was your reaction when you broke the Commando G's one? I thought, well, you know, I guess it's not as rugged as they said, but actually, if you watch the review, it actually wasn't broken because I had put it in the dryer and just the static and everything kind of messed up the screen, but I got a tip from someone in the comments and I got the display work, so it actually didn't break. Okay, Sydney, any rumors of quad-core? Yeah, we had some rumors. Qualcomm, yeah, no, NVIDIA, and their Cal-L quad-core processor. They said that their quad-core processor would be ready for tablets this fall, which is ridiculous because I'm like, you just came out with dual-core processors, now you're going to come out with quad-core. I mean, that's just frustrating for consumers, but that's all we know right now. We don't know of any devices yet that will have quad-core processor, not any, at least anything that's been, confirmed. Sydney, Samsung Hercules, you didn't cover that. Yeah, my guess is that the Hercules, the only news that we got from the Hercules this week was a leaked picture, and if you look at the picture, it looks exactly like the Samsung Galaxy S2, so I figured there's no use showing it. Nokia N9, is that phone going to T-Mobile? I don't believe we know that yet. Let me make sure I'm all the way at the bottom. Sometimes Ustream, the comments, they get backed up, so just want to make sure. Would you rather have a WVGA AMOLED screen or a QHD LCD display of the same size? You know, I'm not really sure because I don't pay a whole lot of attention to the technical aspects of display technology. So, I know what they look like, but as far as the technology behind them, I don't read a whole lot into that. So, I like beautiful displays, but I'm not picky as far as the technology goes. I'm gonna have to get a drink, guys. I'm sorry. My voice was slowly leaving me. Okay. N9 might not even get to the States, at least that's the latest rumor. Okay. Did Hummingbird processors do better than Qualcomm's first and second generation processors on day-to-day use? I know they don't do well on Quadrant. I have used both, and honestly, if you do a lot of tests, you may notice a difference in the numbers. Personally, I use the Samsung Galaxy S, the original one with the 1 GHz Hummingbird processor, and I've used the Epic. I have the Epic, and other phones with that Hummingbird processor. I never noticed any problems with lag, at least different from what's normal. I've also used phones with the first generation, second generation Snapdragon processors. Like I said, if you look at the numbers, it may be different, or if you I don't know, if you're like a multitasking god, then you may notice a difference. But honestly, I haven't noticed that Hummingbird processors were better than Qualcomm's processors. Somebody else, if you've noticed, then you can mention that in the comments. Okay, HTC phones are too similar, and I'm about tired of their bull. Okay. Okay, let me check PhoneDog, nice. Facebook. Okay, there's a couple questions on Facebook. Okay, when is the Hercules coming? I don't think we know that for sure. Samsung Hercules. Oh, I see. We have a possible release date of September 26th. Windows Phone Mango with 4G on T-Mobile is what I'm hoping for. Tired of using Android already after 3 phones. I hear ya. Are 2 models for the GS2 coming out on AT&T, one with a keyboard and one without? That was the original rumor. However, I think that has been proven false. That one phone with a physical keyboard, I don't think that's the Galaxy S2. It's still a phone with a physical keyboard made by Samsung with high-end specs. But I think we figured out that that wasn't the Galaxy S2. It was just another phone. My friend needs to know if, while using Wi-Fi calling for T-Mobile on an Android device, is it free to text and call people in the USA while in a place such as Paris? If so, is it free for both people? My understanding of that is yes, and somebody, if I'm wrong, you can definitely correct me, but my understanding of that is that yes, it would be, I mean, obviously data charges, you would have data charges, but as far as using the Wi-Fi feature, it would be free to call and text, right? Am I wrong about that? Somebody else correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, HTC Flyer versus 10.1 or another tablet. You know, the Flyer uses a version of Android that's not optimized for a tablet. The Samsung Galaxy Tab 10.1 does, so I would go with the Tab 10.1. Are they making an LG Envy Touch 2? I doubt it. We haven't heard anything about that, but honestly, Verizon, they're more inclined to discontinue their feature phones than to actually make a new one. Okay, let me go back to Ustream, just in case I've missed some comments. My neighbor next door is so annoying. She sings so much all day, and she's a terrible singer. She's basically just screaming, you know, and she thinks she's so good. She, you know, uses all these techniques, and she actually warms up her voice, and I'm just like, oh my god, woman, you suck. It doesn't matter how much you warm up your voice. But anyway, she's singing right now, and it's just annoying me to no end. Okay, questions. Let me get all the way to the bottom. Sorry, Ustream is... Okay. Do you think that there will be any new good feature phones worthy of buying, and is she old? She's not old. At least I don't think so. I assume she's probably like 30 or something. Any new good feature phones? You know, I mean, like I said, carriers, their, you know, practice right now is to migrate everything to a smartphone. So, new feature phones, we haven't really heard of a lot of new feature phones. I believe there was a rumor about a Pantech feature phone coming, possibly to Verizon or Sprint. But beyond that, we don't really hear rumors about feature phones, so I couldn't tell you what's coming. Okay, do you still enjoy Windows Phone 7 despite the lack of other people using it? You can't even play Words with Friends. My question was skipped. Words with Friends, I don't use that. The lack of other people using it, no, I don't care if nobody uses. I mean, I'm going to use the best what is best for me. You know, I don't care if nobody else uses it. I mean, if it's best for me, then it's best for me. Yeah, I still enjoy it. My 14-day trial period is up, I believe, on Saturday, tomorrow, and I'm going to keep it because I love it. It's awesome. You know, all the bad things that people say about Windows Phone 7, those people probably have no idea what they're talking about. If you just try it, you'd realize that they're all wrong, and you'd probably like it. Granted, you know, Android has, you know, some things that are better. There's some aspects of Android that are better. You know, it's not a perfect OS. It's not the best OS, I don't think. But I think it's very equal in a lot of ways to Android and iOS. So, yeah, I like it. You should try it. I do sometimes miss Android, and I still carry around an Android device, so I have equality. Do you know the release date for the LG Bryce? That's the Revolution, right? Yeah. No, I don't have a release date for the LG Bryce. I'm sorry. Sydney, Aaron's impression of you, funny or insulting? I loved it. You know, whenever he told me that he was going to do an impression of you, or of me, I was like, what are you going to do? Because, you know, when I thought about doing an impression of Aaron, it was so easy because he has all these mannerisms, you know, it was the simplest thing in the world to do, but I was like, I mean, what do I do that you could, you know, mimic? But as soon as he started, I started cracking up because it was like, oh, right, duh, talk like a little girl, because people say I talk like a little girl. I don't mean to, but I have a lot of people that think I'm like 16 or 15, and it's kind of frustrating. I'm 23, but anyway, no, I thought it was funny. It wasn't insulting at all. Okay, there's no need to spam the same question every 10 minutes. Did I miss a question? It's not intentional. I just, you know, missed stuff. Okay, Samsung Galaxy S2 versus iPhone 5 coming to PhoneDog this November. It takes too long for these phones to come out. Okay. Would you ever want to see another dual keyboard phone like the Pantech Matrix Pro? You know, I don't think I ever used a Matrix. Let me see. Pantech Matrix Pro. Oh, I see. That's like the Sprint had a phone like that. No, I mean, I think it adds too much bulk, and it's really not necessary. No, I don't think I'd be interested in that. let me, oh, Sim, you don't have to delete that comment. I mean, anyway, okay. I'm going to head over to Facebook, see if I missed any questions. Okay, one more question for today. Is Verizon's 4G LTE still spotty? Well, that depends on coverage in your area, and, as far as how reliable it's going to be. I can't tell you. You just have to check a coverage map. Okay, why isn't there a dogfight between a Windows Phone 7 and iPhone? I know other sites do comparisons, but I don't remember seeing one from PhoneDog. Let me see. I'll check. I thought Aaron did that, but maybe not. I can check. Let me go back to Ustream. What's the difference between prepaid carriers and big carriers like Verizon, Rogers, Telus, etc.? By the way, Sydney, did you get your haircut? No, it's just up in a ponytail, because like I said in the beginning, I've been feeling sick all day, so I just didn't feel like doing my hair. I've been nauseous and dizzy all day, so... Right, the difference between prepaid carriers. Well, the phone selection, although recently, like, prepaid carriers have been getting better phones, but usually the phone selection, they have, like, cheaper phones, more budget-friendly phones, because usually people that are, geared more towards saving money, they go with prepaid carriers. Also, network reliability can sometimes, not be the best. That's not true with every prepaid carrier, but it can be true of some of them. The prices obviously are going to be different. And then a lot of times coverage, they have, like, there's certain prepaid carriers that, are in Texas or Dallas where I'm at, and there are some nationwide prepaid carriers, but a lot of it, sometimes coverage will vary between, a prepaid carrier and then, like, Verizon, who's everywhere. That's what I would say are the main differences. My phone just vibrated. Okay. How's the AT&T and T-Mobile merger coming? As far as we know, everyone hates it. So that's. I actually had somebody ask me the other day on a Wednesday. This guy asked me. He said, "So, since AT&T bought T-Mobile, is AT&T going to get those new plans that T-Mobile just put out?" And it's so frustrating how many people don't understand the merger. It hasn't gone through. AT&T didn't buy T-Mobile. They proposed the merger, and it's going to take a year, possibly for it to actually go through. So, anyway, that was just a random personal story. T-Mobile's network isn't going to disappear. Does the MyTouch 4G get Sense 3.0 with Gingerbread update? I don't believe so, no. On Infuse now rooted, I have so many Android phones. Okay. Will HSPA Plus phones on AT&T work with T-Mobile's towers after the merger? They haven't actually told us a whole lot about how they're going to work with the phones. Are they going to have still, like, AT&T phones and T-Mobile phones, or are they eventually just going to release quad-band phones that can, or tri-band phones that'll work on all of them? Will they work? Well, yeah, so we'll just have to see how they work that out. My dad is switching to Verizon. He has a 3GS now. What should he get? Well, you could get the iPhone 4. That's on Verizon. Or you could wait for the iPhone 5. That should be coming to Verizon too. Since he already uses an iPhone, I'd say that'd probably be the best thing to do. If he doesn't want to wait for the iPhone to come out, you could get the iPhone 5. If not, the Thunderbolts, the Droid Charge, those are good devices you can look at. Okay, Motorola Triumph or that one on Metro PCS? That one. I don't know what that means. MyTouch 4G slide, the best phone out, or does T-Mobile have something better? T-Mobile. See, on PhoneDog, our top 3 phones for T-Mobile are number 1, the G2X, number 2, the Sensation, and number 3, the MyTouch 4G slide. So, it's one of the top 3 phones. Okay, we have about 1 minute left, and so I'll try to get some last-minute questions. Let me see, I haven't been on Facebook, so I'll check that. Do you know when will Android Gingerbread update come to Samsung Vibrant? No. Is it okay for HTC Sensation to get warmer? Is that because it has dual-core processor? That happens with some phones. It's not necessarily a good thing, but it's not necessarily a terrible thing. The Sensation has a few software issues, so hopefully it'll get fixed with an update. At least that's what we're hoping for. Okay, so it's 5 o'clock. Thank you guys for coming. I'm sorry if I missed your question. It happens. But you can follow me on Twitter. My screen name is It's My Job to Know, and send me a question there, and I'll try to answer it if I can. We have this vodcast every Friday. It's live, so you can come next Friday and join the chat. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment if you want to, and I will, I guess, see you guys next week, and we'll have some more topics. So, bye!